Just in time for Halloween, this episode of Brains on Games is all about escaping an alien that's stalking your every move. Welcome to Brains on Games. I'm Dr. Brian McDonald, and this episode we are going to talk about a game that's actually based on a movie that came out when I was a kid. A movie called Alien, directed by Ridley Scott. This is one of the classic science fiction horror movies, and this game is one that I think is interesting because younger kids can play it. And so a dad who likes those old 70s classic science fiction horror movies like Alien can play a game like this with their younger kids. They don't have to wait until they're 15 or 16 to be able to play it. It's a cooperative game, so everyone will work together on it. A game called Alien: Fate of the Nostromo. Now, this is a game that you can play with the younger kids. Like I said, ages 10 and up. 10 and up for a game about the Alien movie. So 10 and up, you can play with between 1 and 5 players. So there is a solo version of the game, and you can get a game in about 45 minutes to an hour. Now, I want to show you all of the pieces and the board for this Alien game, but first I have to show you what happens when you open the box. Because just like the Alien movie, if you remember, I don't think I'm spoiling anything by talking about a 50-year-old movie, but almost 50 years old. When you open the box, look what's inside. This cat jumps out at you almost, just like it would on the Nostromo. That's Jonesy, of course, who jumps out and hisses at you. But this is just the bottom of the board. The only reason that they put this picture in the game is to kind of freak people out when they open the box, and it certainly gave me a bit of a start when I first opened things up because I was expecting a rule book or something, or maybe the cardboard cutouts, but this was the first thing that I saw. Once you've gotten over your fright from seeing that cat jump out of the box at you, it doesn't really jump out, but certainly it made me jump when I opened it up, you unfold the map, and here is the map of the Nostromo. So you've got the upper levels with the galley, that's where the players start. The med bay, if you're playing with Ash, the science officer, who you might remember was kind of a villain in the movie, he starts in the med bay, and he's an add-on that just makes the game a bit more complicated. It is a pretty straightforward cooperative game. It's not too stressful, but adding Ash can certainly up the level of difficulty. On the lower levels, you've got you can climb down this ladder here to go from suit storage to equipment storage. You can go from the docking bay down here to maintenance, and that's where the workshop is. But it's in the lower levels where the alien has its nest. And that's where the alien starts, is in the nest. And you can see this is probably the scariest piece in the game. There's a few pictures of the alien, but the alien doesn't actually kill any of the players in this game, which is why I think it's suitable for the younger ages. So it's a pretty good looking miniature, honestly. He's standing on a grate, and it really does evoke the creature from the movie. Hopefully you'll be able to see that in the camera, but this is a great little mini. Even the minis for the players, for the characters, the crew of the ship, certainly do resemble the actors in the movie, and each player will have a card that has their character. Well, Ripley, of course. Who doesn't want to be Ripley? Some of them have special abilities, where in Ripley's case, she can move one of the other players one space in the ship, which can really be helpful to get you towards a goal or to get you away from that alien who's stalking you throughout the game. What you're going to be trying to do in this game is to accomplish some number of objectives before your morale counter drops down to 0. So your morale counter is a little standee that has the alien on it again. None of the players are going to die in this game if the alien catches them. They run away, but their morale goes down as bad things happen in the game. You'll also add to the map a bunch of coolant counters, and those little coolant canisters start in different rooms. The setup indicates where those things should begin. There's going to be a few tokens that are scrap. These pieces of scrap are things that you can pick up, and you can build things with them in order to accomplish objectives or to have some tools that you can use in the game that might protect you from the alien. The other thing that you'll need to add to the board are these concealed tokens. So if you walk into a room with a concealed token, you might run into the alien, and that's going to lower your morale and end your turn. So the alien encounters look like this. they have a little number here. This is a 3. So if you turn over one of these, the alien is going to wind up in the room where you are, and you're going to lose 3 morale, and then you have to run away. You have to flee 3 spaces if you're on the same spot as the alien. You might actually run into Jones the cat, who just jumps out at you and scares you. That drops your morale by 1. You don't necessarily have to run away, though, when Jonesy comes. Or some of the tokens just have a little picture of a hallway, and that means it's safe. There's nothing really that's going to jump out at you in that case. You'll shuffle a deck of objectives as well before you start the game, and one objective will be placed face up near the board, 1 for each player plus 1 extra one. So in our 2-player game, we'd have 3 objectives, and then you have the final objective that will let you win the game. This goes face down. You shuffle again. There's a whole bunch of them. You shuffle these up and draw one, but it stays face down until you've accomplished those other smaller objective cards. And those are things like bringing a piece of equipment to a room or using a piece of equipment in a certain room. There was one game that we played where one of the objectives was to get into the alien's nest while you had an incinerator. So sometimes you have to bring some piece of equipment to the med bay or something like that. So you're just trying to get to certain locations on the board with certain equipment. You may or may not have to use that equipment in the room, but you're lugging things around across the board while at the same time trying to avoid that alien who's going to drop the morale down very, very quickly once he runs into you. What the players are doing in this game is they're running around the map trying to complete those objectives before their morale counter drops down to 0, at which point they lose the game. If you get down to 0 morale, it says the crew is lost and the alien has won. The objectives are things like, here it says give it a little incentive, and it's bringing an electric prod to the galley. Before you do that, you have to collect enough scrap to build an electric prod, and then you have to get your figure back to the galley, which is where you're starting the game. Your character card shows what objects you can carry. You can have unlimited scrap in one of these spaces, but otherwise you can only fit one thing, and you can see the little object tiles fit pretty much exactly right there like that. I've shown you the flashlight here. Maybe you can see it if I hold it up to the other camera. The flashlight is probably one of the most important objects. It doesn't really, I don't think there's any objectives that require you to use it in any way, but if you've got the flashlight, it reduces the amount of morale that you'll lose by running into the alien by 1 point, which is very important in this game to keep you in the game for as long as possible. Now, there are a number of different choices of actions you can do, and you can move, for example, more than once. You can do the same action multiple times, and Ripley gets 4 of those actions on her turn. So that could include moving, it could include picking up or dropping an object, it could include using an object. Maybe you would be crafting an object. So you can also trade. If you've got another player in the same room as you, you can trade things with them as well. And those trades are really helpful in making sure people get to the right places in order to accomplish whatever your goal is for that part of the game. After you've done your turn and Ripley's done her 4 actions, for example, then it's the encounter phase and the alien is going to start doing something. So you've got this encounter deck that has the alien's tail on it, and you flip it over, and this is going to tell you what is the alien going to do. In this case, it's stalking the player. So this shows how far the alien's going to move, 3 spaces, and it's going to move towards the nearest player. Now, it's the first turn, and I haven't moved any of the figures, but say Ripley tried to get over here towards the med bay, 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, so that she can get the scrap that's there. This alien is going to go 1, 2, 3 because it can also use the ladders. So the alien is going to climb up here next time. Now, the other thing that's on this card is the morale that would be lost if the alien manages to get onto a space where one of the player tokens would be. And in that case, I would lose 3. And that would drop me down a little bit and get me closer to losing everything entirely. If the alien does manage to encounter one of the players, you drop down that morale by however much it says on the card, and then the player has to run away 3 spaces to get away from that alien. And the player gets to decide where they run to. So sometimes you might want to encounter the alien to get that little bit of extra movement so that you can grab something on the next turn that you might need to get. Now, more often you'll get cards that look more like this. So the alien's maybe only moving one space or two spaces instead of three. It's not quite as much of a morale drop. There's only 2 points if it runs into you. But it also shows that you're going to add some scrap and a concealed token to a room on the board. In this case, it says the bridge. So now the bridge is going to get one of these and one of these. And if I walk across it, I might be in trouble. If Ripley had moved from the galley to here, and then we had drawn that card that says the bridge is going to get one extra concealed token and an extra piece of scrap, the alien only moves one space, so everyone's still pretty safe. Then maybe the next player will move over to the bridge in order to see if they can grab some of those pieces of scrap to build that electric prod. In this case, it's a safe room. It shows only a tunnel. But if it had instead been an alien, I've moved 1, 2. Now the alien shows up over here. I'm going to lose 3 morale because there's a number 3 here on this alien token. And then this player has to run 3 spaces in some other direction, and maybe he'd want to run here so that he can grab some scrap next turn. That is going to end the player's turn if they run into that concealed token. Once you get this off the board and it's resolved, it gets shuffled back into the stack. There's a little deck of these concealed tokens that you'll be adding to the board as you draw those encounter cards. If it is an empty tunnel, though, that goes off to the side, so it becomes more and more dangerous as you reveal those. There are some encounters that just require the alien to go back to the nest, and then you have to put concealed tokens on each room that doesn't already have one, or where there's no players either. So if you've only got a couple of players and maybe they're in the hallways, that's going to be a lot of opportunities for the alien to jump out and grab you. Now, because Brett here ran into the alien using a concealed token instead of an encounter card, now his turn ends, but he doesn't have to draw another encounter. He's already run into the alien, and the alien stays right up here in the bridge, and now he's kind of trapped. He can't go anywhere, so hopefully the next card that's drawn will send the alien somewhere else, or maybe one of the players will create a grapple gun and be able to pull the alien away so that poor Brett can escape from this room, because otherwise he's sort of stuck here and the alien's going to be coming his way. And that is the push-pull of this game. The players are going to be running around. There's going to be more and more of these concealed tokens, and the scrap pieces are going to pile up, and it's going to become more and more tempting to go into those rooms because the scrap is going to pile up in there. You can only have one concealed token in a room, so if I drew an encounter card that said the galley, I could add more scrap, but it's not going to change the little piece that's on here right now. What you're doing in this game is budgeting your actions and trying to plan ahead to accomplish those very clear objectives as quickly and as efficiently as possible, because each turn you risk that morale counter going down, and it doesn't take very long before that reaches 0 and you lose the game. Now, it's not super complicated unless you introduce Ash, who's another character who's going to run around the map taking scrap off the board, and you need that scrap to build flashlights that will protect you from morale loss and the incinerators and electric prods that you need in order to reach your objectives. So he does make things extra complicated. And then the final objective is one that often requires more than one step. So you're really working and thinking ahead and trying to, like I said, be efficient. And if you're budgeting those actions and you're trying to tackle things in an efficient, organized way, you're planning ahead, those are all examples of executive functioning skills. And the executive functioning skills are those abilities that you need to be able to work towards a future goal. Super important abilities to have. I like these cooperative games where players can talk to each other and plan ahead, and well, you're cooperating and you're working together to accomplish a goal. So I think that's something that's great for kids to be able to practice. You also have to maybe navigate or negotiate the fact that one player might be the alpha player in the group and try to dictate everything that all the other players should do. And that's a good thing for kids to be able to kind of negotiate and work out among themselves. Now, you've got the great artwork, you've got character cards that look like the actors, you've got fantastic little miniatures here. I think the most important thing about this game is that Alien is a movie that I really liked when I was a kid. I think lots of parents who are probably watching this video like to watch Alien, and especially around Halloween time, it's a great time to watch something scary. And Alien is a great franchise. And the first movie, of course, was probably what introduced me to that science fiction horror subgenre. But I'm not going to watch Alien with a 10-year-old kid. I can introduce a 10-year-old to the ship that these guys were on, to this crazy, scary alien creature. That was the scariest thing I think I can remember seeing when I first saw that movie. That creature was super gross and creepy, but the miniature isn't as gross and creepy, and you can introduce your kids to the franchise and the idea of crawling around the spaceship trying to escape this thing. And maybe once they're older, they're 16 years old, then you can sit down and watch Alien with them. But you're not going to do that with a 10 or 11-year-old. They'll have nightmares all night long. So I think it's a fun way for an adult, for a parent, to share something that they used to like when they were younger with their kids who are maybe too young to watch the actual film. And that, in a nutshell, is Alien: Fate of the Nostromo. This is a pretty quick cooperative strategic game that definitely involves those executive functioning skills. If you have any comments or questions or suggestions for me, you can leave them in the comment section below this video, or you can email me at brian@brainsongames.ca. Brainsongames.ca is the website. That's where future episodes will go, and the previous ones are up there already. Brains on Games is the Twitter handle and the Facebook page and the Instagram feed, so we're all over the place. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to be notified of future ones, you can head on over to YouTube and click that subscribe button. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you next time.